Hi everyone, this is Heather. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I have a card tutorial for you and we're going to be making the Z-fold card for spring or St. Patrick's Day with this adorable little lamb and a big field full of 4-leaf clovers. So I'm using a brand new stamp set from Hello Bluebird, and this is called Spring Gatherings, and it has got the cutest little animals with lots of little accessories. There's a bunny, the sheep, and the pig, and there's lots of great little things that they can hold or you can set around them to set a scene with flowers and butterflies and little chicks and eggs and lots of great sentiments. There's also a matching die cut set. I've already cut away the ones that we're going to be using today, but one of the really awesome things about this die set is that it cuts little slits around the hands of the animals so that they can hold all the accessories. So it's really easy to slip all the little things in their hands. I just think that's so cute. I'm also going to be using a stitched cloud and stitched hill die set, and this is from Amuse Studio. There's lots of companies that have, clouds and hills as well. So you're going to be needing some 12 by 12 paper for this project, and I can't even get it on camera because it's so long, but I've got a piece of light blue textured cardstock, and this has been cut to 12 by 5.5. And then I have a strip of green cardstock that's been cut to 1.5 by 12. And then also a piece of 110-pound weight white cardstock. And this is just about 5.5 by 5.5, just enough to stamp all of the elements onto. And I'm using a heavyweight cardstock because I'm going to be using alcohol-based markers. So the first thing that I want to do is take a ruler and a pencil, and on the right hand side of my large piece of blue for the base, I want to make a tick mark at about 2.5 inches high. So now that I have that tick mark, I want to place this in my paper trimmer, and from the upper left hand corner all the way down to that tick mark at an angle, I'm going to trim that off in my paper trimmer. I cannot get my big paper trimmer to fit on camera, so I'm just going to do that off camera real quick. So I'm sorry I had to do that off camera, but as you can see, I just cut at an angle from the corner down to the little tick mark. And now I've got my scoring board. I'm going to lay the flat edge up against, make sure everything is lined up in the corners, and I am going to score at 4 and at 8. So now that I have that scored, I'm going to fold the first piece forward and the other piece back. I'm going to take my bone folder. I'm just going to go over those score lines just to make sure that everything is crisp. So now this is the base of our card, and I want to go ahead and start die cutting the clouds across the top. So I have a little bit of repositionable tape. You could use washi tape, any type of low tack tape. I'm just going to take a couple of pieces, and I'm going to line up the top of the clouds close to the edges there. Make sure that this end is going off, and I'm going to tape that in place. And now I'm going to run this long ways through my Big Shot machine. And now that this first piece has been die cut, I'm going to remove the die. And if you want to tear this little piece away just so that it doesn't get in your way while you're working, you can do that. And then I'm just going to move on down and do the same thing. I'm just going to make sure I have a little bit of overlap on those clouds there. Get it as close to the top as I can, and again, tape it in place and run it through my die cut machine. So I've made my second pass, and if for some reason this doesn't completely overlap, you can just take your scissors and just kind of make those two connect right there. Again, I'm going to tear that little piece away. Same thing on this last little bit here. I'm going to tape it in place and run it back through the die cutting machine. Now that I'm finished with the base of the card with all the clouds, I'm going to do the same thing with the green piece, I've laid it in my scoring tool, and I'm going to score it at 4 and at 8. And just like I did with the clouds, I'm going to line the hill up along the edge of the green and run this through my die cut machine. So now I'm just going to do the same thing, and I'm going to make sure that those dies are lined up, and I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. And now one last time, just to get that last little bit on the end of the grass. So now that I have my clouds and hills all die cut, I'm going to be doing some stamping, and I'm using black pimento ink because I'm going to be using some alcohol-based markers. So my white cardstock, I'm going to stamp out the little lamb. Next, I'm going to stamp out a bunch of the 4-leaf clovers. In fact, I'm going to stamp out 12. And now that I have all my 4-leaf clovers stamped out, I'm going to stamp out 2 of the butterflies that are sideways, and then 1 of the butterflies that's facing forward. So here is all our images stamped out. And also, while I have the black ink out, in the upper left-hand corner near the clouds, I'm going to stamp the Hello Spring words. So now I'm ready to color, and I'm using a combination of Spectrum Noir and Stampin' Blends markers just because the colors worked out with the project that I have. So from Spectrum Noir, I'm using DG3, and for each of the different 4-leaf clovers, I'm going to color 4 in each of the greens that I've chosen. So I've colored 4 of those, and now with Dark Old Olive from Stampin' Up, I'm going to color 4 more. And lastly, I'm going to do the last 4 in Stampin' Up's Light Old Olive. So here's all my 4-leaf clovers all colored in. Next, I'm going to move on to my little sheep, and I'm going to color the ears, the face, and arms and legs with ivory from the Stampin' Blends markers. So I have avoided the nose and the ends of the little hooves, which I am coloring in with dark pink Pirouette. I'm also going to give my sheep some cute little pink cheeks and add just a little bit of shading and shadowing with that pink marker as well. Now for the little bow around her neck, I'm using TB1 from Spectrum Noir. And so the sheep isn't just a bright white. I'm taking IG1, which is a light gray, and I'm just following along those stamped lines with the gray. It just helps give a little bit more depth to the little sheep's fleece. So I'm finished with the marker coloring, and I want to take a Sigma Ball white gel pen and give just a little bit of a glint on the cheek. I've seen a lot of card makers do this, and it just adds such a cute little sweet touch to the cheeks. So there's my sheep all finished being colored in. And now I'm going to use the same pink and ivory for the butterflies. I'm going to give them ivory bodies and pink wings. So now that I'm finished with all of my coloring, I'm going to die cut all my images, just line them up and tape them in place with a little bit more of the repositionable tape. And so the most time-consuming part of this card is having to die cut out all the 4-leaf clovers. It takes a few minutes, but I think it's worth it just to have this great big field full of 4-leaf clovers. And you will also need to die cut the butterfly that's on with the wings on its side. You'll have to do that twice as well. So I gave my big shot quite a workout, and I have this nice big pile of 4-leaf clovers, and all of my little images have been die cut. Much better than cutting it out by hand, of course. And now I'm going to apply the grass to the base of my card. I'm going to use a really good amount of tape runner. And I'm just going to do it one section at a time. So I'm just going to line up the edges and apply that. Then I'm just going to apply some adhesive to the next piece and do the same and line that up. And now I'm ready for the last. And this section can sometimes be a little tight going around. So if you need to grab your bone folder and give it a better score, you can. And the other thing that I found too is that a lot of times you'll have a little bit of an edge hanging off. Just because of the folding, the green's now a little bit shorter than the blue. So you can just take your scissors or your paper trimmer and just trim that little tip off. So next I want to put one of the 4-leaf clovers in the hand of my little lamb. So I'm just going to put a little bit of tape runner, or you could use glue dots. On the back of that, I'm going to push out one of the little arms and slip that inside so that it looks like they are holding on to that 4-leaf clover. Isn't that cute? I love how the dies cut those arms. And next I'm going to apply a mixture of adhesive and foam tape on the different butterflies and the 4-leaf clovers, just so that I have a little bit of different depth. So the first thing that I want to do with some foam tape is go ahead and put my sheep in place. So I'm going to put it a little bit to the left of the main panel and popped it up there. So now I have some foam tape on the back of a few of the 4-leaf clovers, and then I'm going to also just use regular adhesive, and I'm just going to start building my scene. And I'm just going to start placing the different clovers just around in different areas. I'm going to tuck some in behind. I'm going to pop some up. Others are going to be flat. And I'm just going to fill in the panels with all the 4-leaf clovers. So I've applied all of my 4-leaf clovers to the card, and actually only ended up using 11 of them, so I had one extra. And then I'm going to put my little butterflies down, one on each of the panels. And now here is our finished card. I think the Z-fold is a really fun, interactive type of card without a whole lot of work. It also will fit inside a standard size envelope. It might be a little thick, especially with the foam tape, but it will fit inside the envelope. And I just absolutely adore this new stamp set from Hello Bluebird. So I hope you enjoyed this card tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and be sure to check out my channel and subscribe for more card tutorials like this. And I hope you have a really wonderful St. Patrick's Day. This is Heather. Thanks for joining me. Bye.